People will say, oh, AI is going to take over the world. I don't see a world where the profession of accounting is totally taken over by AI. There'll always be that need for human touch and validation, in my opinion, because we do audits and we need to make sure that we get their taxes right. So I would just say, embrace it, think about how it's going to give you that better work-life balance, and then just go for it, give it a try.
You're listening to the Spotlight edition of The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Louis Prosperi. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I'm Louis Prosperi. Our guest is the head of accountants business unit at Sage in the UK, Karen Ainley. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Louis, and thanks a lot for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here.
We're very happy to have you here, and we are really looking forward to your insights. What I'd like to start off with is a question about the practice of now report. Can you share some of your insights on what that is and why is that becoming important to bookkeepers and accountants today?
Yeah, I mean, Louis, it's a massive time of change in accounting and bookkeeping at the moment. So Sage teamed up with Edelman Data and Intelligence to create this global research report, which gives our readers a sneak peek into the practice next door. So we spoke with 1,000 accountants and bookkeepers to find out what they're thinking, how they're feeling, and what they're planning to do through this extraordinary period of change that we're going through. And we all know that change is both challenging and exciting at the same time. So there's a lot of opportunity ahead, but also a lot of trepidation.
Yes.
So 96% of the audience that we spoke to said that they're really excited about the future of their profession. And with the onset of the digitization of tax globally, heightened client expectations and fast-moving technologies being the main factors for change. So 85% want more opportunities to provide those services. But for me, there were three key takeaways from the report. The first one was that accountants and bookkeepers feel like they need to grow their skills and attributes. So 56% are worried that they don't have the right skills to succeed in the future.
Interesting.
AI and automation was another biggie, obviously. Both of those technologies can help bookkeepers and accountants with real challenges in the industry today around not being able to recruit staff and also with heavy workloads. And on that topic, 89% said that they thought that AI-powered tools would make a difference to their practice, but only 39% actually use them today, which was a surprising figure when I read that. And then the final focus area was client relationships. And I think as more humanity and those human qualities around like personality and knowledge and experience become more prevalent, accountants and bookkeepers will work much more closely with their clients. So a lot of them told us that they see building relationships and personalizing those client connections as being critical to future-proofing their practice. So I guess, all in all, the biggest takeaway was that accountants and bookkeepers know exactly what they need to do, but the majority are still to get started on that journey.
So they have that was interesting. It sounds like the AI and the automation is allowing them to reconnect with their customer base compared to before.
Yeah.
Because you indicated that they feel that the more they get involved in the AI and automation that put in their practice, that means they can talk more to their customers, which is interesting because I think that's a shift from before where they were trying to have a lot of customers and less communication. Now they're trying to reverse that. I think that's really cool. So the fact that only less than 40% are utilizing it, and you said like 85, I forgot the numbers, but well over 80% know that they have to do this. What advice would you give them to help them not be overwhelmed by the technology change that they're actually experiencing today?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we all know that everyone deals with change differently. So I would see, try and see the bigger picture,
Right.
envisage how that technology can help and give you that better work-life balance, and then just go for it. Dip your toe in, give it a try. I think learning to trust the automation and the AI is key, and that's going to be a big hurdle for some because bookkeepers and accountants, and that was my profession before I started at Sage. We're very cautious people and we're very careful. So I think learning to trust that is key. But there's people will say, "Oh, AI is going to take over the world." I don't see a world where the profession of accounting is totally taken over by AI. There'll always be that need for human touch and validation, in my opinion, because we do audits and we need to make sure that we get their taxes right. So I would just say, embrace it, think about how it's going to give you that better work-life balance, and then just go for it, give it a try.
I think I kind of agree with you that AI will be very useful, or the automation components are useful, but unless you replace the customer is a robot too, they're still going to want to talk to people. So I agree with that.
Yeah.
Until you still need that person to person contact, it's going to be hard to replace that person, in my view. And I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
What kind of trends do you see right now with client expectations? How are they evolving? Because usually we're a service provider, even though we're an expertise and knowledge based. We still adapt to what our customers are needing. How do you see their expectations for what we provide
Yeah.
changing? Like, what do you see in that?
So, I mean, our clients, they don't go into business to do their books and their accounting. They're good at maybe building or hairdressing or hospitality, but they want their taxes to be right. They want to pay as little tax as possible in most cases, but they want a
Sure.
professional to do that for them and they want that to be right. And I think because of the age of digitization that we're experiencing in our personal lives, um, clients are more demanding. So they see tools that are so simple and easy to use and resonate with them on their mobile phones or online. That's what they want. So they know that when they come to us, that we're the experts in that field. They're not their expert. They're not the experts in accounting. So it's our job to guide them and help them grow their business. But definitely, their expectations of things getting more simple and automated and real time are the things that we're having to deal with at the moment. And that's what tools, accounting tools and co-pilots and things like that are doing for us today.
Great. So you're saying that their expectations are changing, but the core is still the same. I guess peace of mind is probably still on their stuff. It's just, I guess, how we communicate and how it gets delivered. Is that the big expectation, and
Yeah,
timing? I guess is the other thing. Is we're in the, like, I like how you call it the now reporting.
yeah. And I
I
think,
guess our clients want now instead of tomorrow. Is
yeah,
that correct?
they can get like instant bank access. They know what the bank details, they know what their
Right.
bank balance is. And I think we're slowly seeing fade out, and it's still prevalent at the moment. So we're slowly seeing, the client come in with the big carrier bag or the cardboard box
Yes.
full of receipts and invoices because they can snap a receipt now and then that can go digitally to the bookkeeper or the accountant. And they're used to taking photos on their phone. So they're more tech savvy and therefore, they're more able to help with some of the jobs that we might have taken up a lot of the bookkeeper's time in the past.
That's very interesting. I think you're right. I think the difference is tech savvy clients want tech savvy accountants, right? I guess, if
Yeah,
does that make sense? I think
yeah,
that's a very good intuitive comment. I like that. And if you're not a tech savvy accountant or bookkeeper, you might not meet the expectations of your customers.
Yeah.
Here's a big question for you. Global economic changes and regulatory updates. What do you see as challenges for bookkeepers facing today? Now, that's a big question.
It's a really big question, and obviously from my accent, I'm from over the other side of the
Right,
pond. I'm not in North America, but globally, I look after our accountants products globally, and we are
right,
seeing the digitization of tax across the world. So, in Europe, it's crazy right now with making tax digital and e-invoicing legislations that we're having to deal with. So I think the digitization of tax is a big one. There's lots of political change across the world at the moment, which is always a time of uncertainty. And it's our jobs as bookkeepers and accountants to guide our clients through that and also guide our own business through that. And I think, just as we were saying before, with the digitization of tax, there's less retrospective bookkeeping being done. So less at the end of the month or the end of the quarter or even the end of
right.
the year, and more regular updates. So we've got our finger on the pulse of what's happening with our business right now. So yeah, massive time of change in politics and our regulatory updates as well. So it's all happening.
So I guess as a global perspective, rather than going into the Canadian or the American or the UK, uh, I think regulatory changes are happening everywhere, right? The need to keep up to date with the
Yeah,
local compliance issues, and I do think after COVID, it did get, or during COVID and after COVID, and I think this wasn't just in Canada or everywhere, it got a lot more complex, right? And I think
yeah,
that's probably, I think the customers are depending on our professionals to be more up to date on that.
yeah,
And that
definitely.
makes sense. So if you want to continue to increase the quality of your services, is stay compliant and stay up to date on the regulatory. And you're saying that basically what's happening globally is the digitizing of the tax format. So less and less paperwork, more online or automated components. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what we're seeing, for instance, in Europe, is that when one business sends an invoice to another business, that goes through automatically. So there's a standardized format, and e-invoicing
Wow.
allows the transmission of those documents automatically so that the government forms and that the taxes are automatically being updated because it's all on a digital play. And we've got the same thing happening in the UK to a lesser extent, where instead of reporting annually, we're now reporting quarterly in about a
Wow.
year's time. So it's definitely a time of change. So as the industry is changing and as technology is advancing, I guess so are our regulatory bodies and governments as well.
That makes sense. And I guess we're probably not as far ahead with the digitization, but we just have to on this side of the pond, I guess
Yeah,
is the best way to put it. Uh, we're probably behind, just behind you, but that's something we should be as professionals over here taking taking a good look at.
yeah.
Um, what are you seeing in business models? This is my favorite topic for bookkeepers and accountants. For example, remote services is probably no longer something. It's already here. And the other big one now is we're talking about subscription modeling for professionals. What are you seeing here? Are you seeing more of a shift for professionals going into this role, and how's it impacting?
Yeah, I think there's definitely been a shift over recent years to move away from a flat fee for a service more to value-based pricing, maybe on a monthly subscription basis.
Right.
And I think, we've got a tool called Go Proposal, and that makes it really easy for you to sit in front of your client with a proposal and build that price for the client based on maybe the number of paychecks that you're doing or tax returns or transactions. And then on the back of that, produce letters of engagement so that you can go through that with the client. So it's really visible to them, it's open, it's honest, and they can clearly see your costs and how you're building the price. I think the danger that sometimes, again, because of the nature of bookkeepers and accountants, is that we fall into a trap where we don't keep track of all of the time and cost that we do as a business. And, a lot of time on low value things like chasing clients for data and things like that. And I think where we can automate some of those low value tasks with tools like Sage Copilot, we can easily contact then a cohort of clients, eliminate some of those time consuming tasks to really bring to life and add value to the service. And I think as we automate some of those more traditional bookkeeping jobs, then the advisory services tend to raise up. And again, this is where value-based pricing and subscription models can help, because advisory is generally less tangible, I guess. So it's up to us as the bookkeepers and accountants to demonstrate the value of that advice and that service so that the clients keep coming back. But yeah, definitely a shift from, I'm not going to let my business just charge whatever for this service because I'm making a loss and that's not the best for me or for my clients.
Right. And I think the fixed fee, although it's effective to, there's more transparency than the hourly rate. I agree, but value-based ties the fee to the value being produced to the customer, and subscription is what I call relationship model, which means it's the relationship and access to you, and basically whatever they need at that time is taken care of.
Yeah.
So I do agree with that. I think that's great. And I do see that the problems with fixed fee or even with the hourly rate, particularly like what you just said about the automation, we're doing things more instantly. And how do we charge for that, right? The model doesn't work for what the services that we're providing. So are you seeing a bigger shift now that customers are expecting not really the bank reconciliation, but more on what that means, like on the advisory side of it, like how this impacts my business? Are you looking at, is that where things are going now? Because you mentioned advisory components. Does that mean that the historical is not as important as the how the impact is for today or tomorrow?
I guess from what I've observed, the historical is less prevalent now because we've got that real timeness of the information. And because you've got that data right there in front of you, and because a lot of banking transactions or receipt transactions are starting to be automated, you've got the information right in front of you to help your client there and then. So you're not
Right.
looking retrospectively at, maybe they were going to have a cash flow problem. They weren't going to be able to pay their salaries this month. You can kind of help them foresee those challenges coming up and give them some advice on what they need to do, or whether they need a business loan or a grant, or if you use maybe benchmarking or something to compare this
Right.
business with a similar business type. And, even just acknowledge things like, they're getting their gas and electricity a lot cheaper than you in the same area for the same type of business. That kind of
Right.
advisory and requests for software to do that kind of anomaly detection and spotting is something that we are starting to see creep in, and definitely starting to see more of, and less of, the manual bank reconciliation or the manual data entry.
Right. So that makes sense. So basically, what you're saying is our roles are changing from historical based advisory to current or future oriented advisories, where the real focus is. And I like how you mentioned some of the stuff is day to day or month to month, not just annually based, because you're talking about cash flow for payroll, cash flow for next month's bills, comparing uh, heating and
Yeah.
billing, and that stuff you can do. You can do that now compared to before. So I really like that. With regards to bookkeepers, and when they're trying to do this shift, and looking at small practices, how does small practices, because that's where the bulk of accountants and bookkeepers are, how are they able to be competitive? Or does the AI help them be more competitive? What do you see?
I think AI can definitely help them be more competitive because they can focus on the real high value things. Where AI tools are great, and we're starting to see this with Sage Copilot at the minute, is highlighting anomalies for them to be able to focus on just that area. So not spending lots of time looking around trying to do audits or trying to spot where transactions might have been coded wrong. Also, communication. So even, not AI, but automating communication with their clients so they're not having to chase them time and time again. And I
Right.
think in order to stay competitive, they need to demonstrate leadership and differentiation in their field and solving the pain that their clients are experiencing to enabling their clients to get on with what they do best is great. And that's how their clients are going to be happy. But then if they're saving time in their practice as well, then, everyone's winning because the practice is saving time on those low value tasks that most of the time they can't get money back for. And the client's happy because the accountant or bookkeeper is taking that away from them. So I think the main thing to stay competitive is to embrace the technology. Why not get a co-pilot to help you? I've played around with it. It's like having a little friend at the side who's doing all the jobs you hate, but really start to differentiate yourself from the field so that you can, do more and be of more value to your clients.
One of the things that I thought was when you talked about Copilot, Sage Copilot, was the one that, and maybe I misunderstood, but it could flag like transactional anomalies that are happening, like because one of the biggest things for, let's be honest, for professional bookkeepers is when you're looking at it at the back end, all the activities in, to know if there's any anomalies, you have to do some sort of expertise. But it would be great if you had a co-pilot, like you just said, that could go in and say, hey, these ones here are fishy or these ones don't work.
Yeah.
Uh, is that what you're talking about there? Is that the assistance as well? Can that
Yeah.
help there?
It's exactly what I'm talking about. If I go back probably about 30 years when I used to do bookkeeping, it was pen and paper then, Louis, but
Yes.
I used to have to go through and check every single transaction in the book.
Right.
What
Yes.
Copilot can do for you now is it starts to learn about your client's data and it starts to work with you. So it's not trying to take over or do your job for you. It's starting to work with you to say, actually, your client has coded this to this GL code, and that's not where it went last month. Or
Right.
your client has coded this supplier to, let's just say, gas, but actually they bought a sandwich. They just bought it from a garage. And I think it's these kind
Yes.
of things that it starts to recognize because it's got that AI capability. It can spot certain words or certain patterns as they start to build up. And the more you use it, the more it learns from your client's data, the more anomalies it surfaces. One of the most popular ones in the UK is assigning the wrong VAT code. And I know you don't have like VAT in
That's
the
sales
US. I'm
tax,
doing
or yeah.
Canada, I think maybe.
Yeah, we
Um,
have HST, but it's a sales tax. It's a
yeah,
value add tax. Yeah,
yeah,
sales tax.
and just using the wrong rate, and Copilot can flag, I'm not sure this rate's right, and it kind of flags the transaction for the accountant to check. And also because Copilot is working both with the accountant and with the client, if the client isn't sure about something they've done, they can flag it and then they'll get a little Copilot alert that says, accountant, please can you look at this for your client because they're not sure. So it's really kind of getting through the weeds of all of the transactions that are coming in from the clients. So the bookkeeper or the accountant can just focus on that area and then start to build that trust as Copilot delivers more for them.
And to be quite honest, this technology wasn't available a few years ago
No,
because
not at all.
I don't recall this around, because the ability to check you would do spot checks the old days. You would spot
Yeah.
check some stuff and see if it's okay, or you would, I call it eyeballing and saying, look, this looks
Right.
reasonable because of last year or month to month.
Yeah.
But what you're saying now with the technology is it actually goes and sees trends on a transactional level in 100% of the
Yeah.
transactions. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
we've had this technology in our Intact product in the US and Canada
Right.
for a couple of years. They call it anomaly detection.
Right.
And that just trails through the GL and it spots things that don't quite look right. And so it is definitely a trend, and it's just a way of using technology and AI to help you accelerate the jobs that you've got to be done. And I always say when I'm speaking to accountants and bookkeepers, the job that you need to do as a professional bookkeeper or an accountant hasn't changed. You still
Yeah.
need to do the books. You still need to make sure your clients are paying the right amount of tax. You still need to do the compliance. But how you do them is what differentiates you from your competition and from how we used to do it.
That is really good because I've never done the bookkeeping, to be quite honest. I've done more on the advisory and year end work, and my background is more there. But the I do know that the bookkeepers spend a lot of time when something goes wrong or trying to find out where something's wrong. It sounds like Copilot or the AI thing actually is improved and allows them to do that job more effectively, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to go fishing. It kind of comes up to the surface and go, here's your problems, rather than having to go in and look for it. And I think that would save a lot of time. That's fantastic. So, if you could give bookkeepers one actionable takeaway from the practice of Now report that you've done, what would it be? Or
I
maybe
would
two or three.
Yeah, I would say go for it. Like take the leap.
Yeah.
96%. So remember, 96% of you are excited about the
Right.
change that's coming. So, embrace it. Visualize the future you. What are your hopes and dreams? Where do you want to be in 5 years' time? And then give it a try, because you might surprise yourself. And I think it's okay to be a little afraid. It's okay to be skeptical.
Right.
But I think you'll be surprised by how helpful Copilot and AI and automation can be to really making your business a success. But if you're excited about something, why not give it a try?
I like the fact go for it is a good way to start. Actionable, just do it, right? Just do
Yeah,
it and experiment. I
yeah,
think I think that makes sense. Get out of your comfort zone,
yeah,
and you'll be surprised at how much fun you'll have doing it. I'm assuming that's what you're saying. It's fun times now, right?
yeah, definitely.
So, uh, how can Sage help our listeners get ready for the future? What are the things that Sage is doing uh, with regards to all of this stuff to make sure that the bookkeepers using your products are ready or able to
Yeah,
do it?
I would say talk to us. We've got a big event coming up in Atlanta called Sage Futures, where we'll be taking a lot of the team on the road. Attend events, sessions, meet with us, meet with your peers. So try and get involved in an advisory board or something like that. And take a look at the software. So take a look at Copilot or our automation tools. And I think one thing I would say about Sage is our values really work with what we want our customers to have. So one of our values is brave, one of our values is human, and one of our values is trust. And we know that we need to work with bookkeepers and accountants to build up trust in some of these automation tools and AI tools. And Sage is a trusted brand with which you can do that. Be brave, as I just said before, just jump in, just
Yes.
go for it. But you will always find Sage software backed up by human support. So we do like that real human interaction as well. So that human interaction that we just talked about earlier with bookkeepers, with their clients, it's the same for Sage with our customers. So yeah, have a look. Go to sage.com and just meet with us and connect with us.
Well, that's fantastic, Karen. Thank you for being on the show.
No problem. It was my pleasure. It was nice to speak to you.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to the Spotlight edition of The Successful Bookkeeper with Louis Prosperi. For more information and to access the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening and have a great week.